Ready?
All right, we are live, and there are
Okay.
three of us in the ashram today with you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Vishesha Srinivadi Pashkitati Chitari. We can sing Jaya Radha Madhava. Okay, I have kartals.
It's a little weird in the Zoom, so we'll be behind a muted mic.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopinavanava Girivaradari Jaya Gopinavanava Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nastaprayasya Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamashlake Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, so the verse that I got was Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse 11. But I'll read 10 because I heard you guys skipped it. So we'll start with 10.
Prabhu, can you share this verse on the screen, or I can do it also?
You do it.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay, sure.
Okay. So is it okay, Vrindavan Natabar, if I just read the Sanskrit and read this and then move on? Okay. Prayena palyushaha sabya kalavasmin yugi janaha mandaha sumanda mataya mandabhagya hi ubadrutaha. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The devotees of the Lord are always anxious for the spiritual improvement of the general public. When the sages of Naimisharanya analyzed the state of affairs of the people in this age of Kali, they foresaw that men would live short lives. In Kali Yuga, the duration of life is shortened not so much because of insufficient food, but because of irregular habits. By keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. Overeating, over-sense gratification, over-dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. Therefore, the duration of life is shortened. The people of this age are also very lazy, not only materially, but in the matter of self-realization. The human life is especially meant for self-realization. That is to say, man should come to know what he is, what the world is, and what the supreme truth is. Human life is a means by which the living entity can end all the miseries of the hard struggle for life in material existence, and by which he can return to Godhead, his eternal home. But due to a bad system of education, men have no desire for self-realization. Even if they come to know about it, they unfortunately become victims of misguided teachers. In this age, men are victims not only of different political creeds and parties, but also of many different types of sense gratificatory diversions, such as cinemas, sports, gambling, clubs, mundane libraries, bad association, smoking, drinking, cheating, pilfering, bickerings, and so on. Their minds are always disturbed and full of anxieties due to so many different engagements. In this age, many unscrupulous men manufacture their own religious faiths, which are not based on any revealed scriptures, and very often, people who are addicted to sense gratification are attracted by such institutions. Consequently, in the name of religion, so many sinful acts are being carried on that the people in general have neither peace of mind nor health of body. The student, brahmachari communities are no longer being maintained, and householders do not observe the rules and regulations of the grihastha ashram. Consequently, the so-called vanaprasthas and sannyasis who come out of such grihastha ashrams are easily deviated from the rigid path. In the Kali Yuga, the whole atmosphere is surcharged with faithlessness. Men are no longer interested in spiritual values. Material sense gratification is now the standard of civilization. And for the maintenance of such material civilization, man has formed complex nations and communities, and there is constant strain of hot and cold wars between these different groups. It has become very difficult, therefore, to raise the spiritual standard due to the present distorted values of human society. The sages of Vinaya are anxious to disentangle all fallen souls, and here they are seeking the remedy from Srila Sutta Goswami. Okay, I'm going to read the next one. Buddhini buddhi karmani strotavyani vipagasaha attasadotrayat saram samudritya manishaya bruhi badra bhuttanam yenatma suprasidati. Do you guys read the word by word?
Yes, Prabhu.
Buddhini, multifarious. Buri, many. Karmani, duties. Srotyavyani, to be learned. Vibhagasaha, by divisions of subject matter. Attaha, therefore. Sadho, O sage. Atra, herein. Yat, whatever. Saram, essence. Samudritya, by selection. Manishaya, to the best of your knowledge. Bruhi, please tell us. Bhadraya, for the good of Bhutanam, the living beings. Yena, by which. Atma, the self. Suprasidati, becomes fully satisfied. Translation. There are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties, which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied. Purport. Atma, or self, is distinguished from matter and material elements. It is spiritual in constitution, and thus it is never satisfied by any amount of material planning. All scriptures and spiritual instructions are meant for the satisfaction of this self, or Atma. There are many varieties of approaches which are recommended for different types of living beings in different times and at different places. Consequently, the numbers of revealed scriptures are innumerable. There are different methods and prescribed duties recommended in these various scriptures. Taking into consideration the fallen condition of the people in general in this age of Kali, the sages of Naimisharanya suggested that Sri Sutta Goswami relate the essence of all such scriptures, because in this age it is not possible for the fallen souls to understand and undergo all the lessons of these various scriptures in a Varna and Ashram system. The Varna and Ashram society was considered to be the best institution for lifting the human being to the spiritual platform, but due to Kali Yuga, it is not possible to execute the rules and regulations of these institutions, nor is it possible for the people in general to completely sever relations with their families as the Varnashram institution prescribes. The whole atmosphere is surcharged with opposition. In considering this, one can see that spiritual emancipation for the common man in this age is very difficult. The reason the sages presented this matter to Sri Sutta Goswami is explained in the following verses. Okay. So, where to start? Okay, so it's actually pretty interesting. I want to go back quickly to text 10. It's interesting that Prabhupada said that the beginning of spiritual life begins with education. So we see that in the brahmachari system, where you're supposed to spend the beginning of your life learning, celibate. Actually, I learned in my planning for this class that when the British invaded India, the first thing that they actually did was dismantle the Gurukul system, because they knew that by dismantling the Gurukul system, future generations would not be practicing what their forefathers taught them. So super interesting. The beginning of human society is deteriorated by lack of spiritual education. So now let's go to the text that I was assigned. So first I want to start with the verse that the sages said. So they start with, there are many varieties of scriptures. Now, when I first read this, I thought it was in reference to like our modern scriptures as we understand it. But upon further study, I actually found out that they were referencing the entire Vedic library. The Vedic library is huge. So the Vedic library consists of the 4 core Vedas, which are the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharva Veda. The Rig Veda has to do with hymns of praise to cosmic administrators like demigods. The Sama Veda is the exact same hymns, but like in a musical form for chanting mantras. Yajur Veda is a technical handbook detailing like worship and rituals. And the Atharva Veda is practical guidelines for human society. And the Varnashram system falls under the Atharva Veda. That also includes like Ayurveda and rituals for counteracting like bad omens, also like certain samskaras. So there are like rituals that you can perform before a child is conceived all the way up till death. That those are all in just the Atharva Veda. Those are just the 4 core Vedas. Then the Vedas also consist of the Itihasas, which are the histories. Those include the Ramayana, which is the story of Lord Ram, who is the ideal king. And that also includes the Mahabharata, which is the world war for the throne, which includes Bhagavad Gita. Then there are the 18 Mahapuranas, which are divided into 3 modes of nature for people to meet them where they are. That was very interesting. Like, have you guys ever heard that there's a section of the Vedas for like worshippers of Lord Shiva or Durga Devi, where they whisper in the ear of the animal, since they eat meat, that I'll kill you in this lifetime, but in the next lifetime you kill me? That's from the Mahapuranas. So those scriptures are scriptures in the mode of ignorance. So basically, it's actually Krishna's mercy that the Vedas are not like any other scripture. They're not stringent, one book, everybody has to follow it. They're very meeting people where they are to attempt to not degrade them to animal life. So even the scriptures in the mode of ignorance are meant to uplift living entities that are like living in that mood. So the 6 Mahapuranas that are in the mode of ignorance, they prescribe very basic moral restrictions and simple worship to Lord Shiva or Durga Devi to prevent animalistic habits. Then there are 6 Mahapuranas in the mode of passion, which prescribe prayers and rituals to demigods to help people accumulate wealth, family, comfort. So this is what we see in India today. And then there are the 6 Mahapuranas, which the Bhagavatam is a part of, which are scriptures in the mode of goodness, and they prescribe wisdom, study, and direct meditation on Lord Vishnu. So when the sages say there are many varieties of scriptures, they're referencing the entire Vedic library. And then when it says, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties, which can only be learned after many years of studies in their various divisions, those various divisions that they're referencing. So like every single one of these scriptures has their own set of rules, duties, and they're compartmentalized in 3 divisions. The khandas, karma khanda, which is doing like rigid physical rituals to get money or to be elevated to spiritual planets. The upasana khanda, which is sitting in silence, like in a forest, to control the mind. And then there's Jnana Kanda, which is studying heavy Sanskrit philosophy to try to get liberated from rebirth. So when the text said that these duties can be learned only after many years of study, it's saying that under this old system, you had to spend decades, literally, of your life mastering just one division of Karma Kanda before you could even move on to Jnana Kanda. It was a lot for us. So this system fails in Kali Yuga because, first of all, there are no more like brahmanas in the sense that there were in other ages. In previous ages, teachers like had flawless memory, absolute purity. They could manipulate physical matter just by perfectly pronouncing a Sanskrit mantra. And then Kali Yuga came, and in this age, teachers lose all spiritual qualifications and they become priests for money or for prestige. So there's no more teachers in that sense. Also, everything is contaminated. You guys in California probably know everything is like, you guys get the good stuff, but for the rest of us, everything is sprayed with pesticides. There's no physical purity in ingredients. And you used to have to perform so many rituals according to the Atharva Veda. So you had to have money for ghee, grains, and they had to be perfectly pure. So that's not possible. Kali Yuga is also manifest in the mind. So trying to navigate all those scriptures and study them for many years, we only get 100 years if we're lucky. So that's not possible. And the society itself is broken. Like in the Atharva Veda, for Varnashram to function, you have to have a saintly king. There are no saintly kings. There's only corporations now. No one cares about spiritual life. Like Prabhupada said in the purport, everyone's focus is materialism. So that's why Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport that this is not possible. That's why the sages are also saying to Sutta Goswami, so they're in Naimisharanya, which is actually described as the center of the universe. So if the universe is spinning on a wheel, the axis goes straight through Naimisharanya. So Naimisharanya forest is very spiritually potent. And so all those sages in the forest gather there, 60,000 of them, and they're trying to perform this 1,000-year sacrifice, and they feel the influence of Kali Yuga. They're so spiritually sensitive, especially being in that holy place. They feel the dark iron age of Kali Yuga clouding their minds. They become tired. They see that their lives they wanted to perform 1,000-year sacrifice. They're like, we can't even see the end of this sacrifice. And right in that moment, when they're feeling all despair, Sutta Goswami wanders in the forest. He had just left. Maharaj Parikshit had just left his body, and so after he left and heard the whole entire Srimad Bhagavatam, he wandered into the forest, and the sages welcomed him, and they asked him, like, what are we supposed to do? So they get to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam for the first time. So these, and Prabhupada says, and also the previous purport, that like saintly people are always concerned for the general well-being of the world. And because they know the Vedas and they know the Vedas well, they know that the only solution for the world is a spiritual one, because we're spiritual beings. So when the world is broken up like fragments of broken glass, and one person is going after this thing and another person is going after that thing, there is no more unity. Everybody's divided. And so spiritual life gives like a one-track goal. Everybody is the same. Everybody has the same goals, the same dharma. So anyways, the sages feel the onset of Kali Yuga. They look at this massive library, these heavy demands. So they asked Sutta Goswami, therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instructions their hearts may be fully satisfied. So something really interesting in here. Oh, I also really like this point. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, all scriptures and spiritual instructions are meant for the satisfaction of this self or Atma. There are many varieties of approaches which are recommended for different types of living beings in different times and different places. Consequently, the numbers of revealed scriptures are innumerable. So, that different time is like different yugas. Everything is there in the Vedas. So something that worked for one yuga doesn't work for another. And different people is, like in the Bhagavad Gita, when it says that there's 8,400,000 species of life, and 400,000 of them are human beings. That 400,000 variety is not distinguished by race or anything like that. It's distinguished by consciousness. So when the three modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are mixed to various degrees, it produces different types of living entities. And so the variety of those living entities is in consciousness, and there's 400,000 different types of human beings. So like we were reading earlier with the Mahapuranas being divided, those are to meet those different the different consciousness of those human beings. So it's super interesting. One thing I love about Krishna consciousness is there is no holes, there is no gaps in this scripture. Everything is connected, and every doubt can be rectified. So it's so interesting when you're studying for class, seeing how everything comes together. So I really love that point. So like sometimes my grandma, she practices her own Christian faith, and sometimes she's like, I just don't understand why there's so many different scriptures. God wouldn't want to confuse his children, so there only has to be one. But this kind of also rectifies that line of thinking, because everybody is different, and the Vedas meet people where they are at. So it's actually a mercy, but it's really amazing to be a devotee. You're basically at the top of the hill. You're looking down and you see everything for what it is. And that's a really cool vision to have. Okay, let's go on. So then it says, taking into consideration the fallen condition of the people, it's not possible for the fallen souls to understand and undergo all the lessons of these various scriptures in a Varna and ashram system. So that might be piquing your interest, because it piqued mine. I was like, wait, what? Because if you know Srila Prabhupada, you know that one of the things that he said after he wrote all his books is that his mission was incomplete because he didn't establish Varnashram. So then you might be reading this and be like, well, why is he saying in the purport here that it's impossible for fallen souls to understand and undergo all the lessons of Varna and Ashram? That's because the Varnashram Prabhupada is referencing here is Smarta Varnashram. So Smarta Varnashram is a rigid hereditary system. So the rule is that your class is determined strictly by your birth. So if you're born into a Brahmana family, you're a Brahmana in Smarta Varnashram system. It runs on those Vedic ritualistic practices that are really strict. You have to have so much money, so much physical ingredients that are perfectly pure, and you have to chant exact Sanskrit mantras perfectly. And the goal of Varnashram system is to gradually elevate yourself to get good karma, material elevation to higher planets. And Prabhupada says that this system is impossible in Kali Yuga, but the Varnashram system that he wanted to establish is something called Daiva Varnashram. And this is that your class is determined strictly by your actual qualities and work, guna and karma. So your lineage is ignored. And if you show the traits of a teacher, a manager, or artist, you're trained and given that role. So, and the system previously of like very strict fire rituals and purificatory processes is immediately replaced by the Sankirtan Yagya, which is chanting Hare Krishna. And anyone can participate in this, which is why Prabhupada got so much backlash when he came to America, because he was giving the sacred Brahmin thread to white people, to Westerners. And the Indian Smarta Brahmins were scoffing, like, you can't give them initiation, you can't give them the sacred Brahmin thread. But actually, Srila Prabhupada got this from the six Goswamis. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya argues with the Smarta Brahmins that this is actually the proper system. And his goal in trying to establish this was to create kind of like farm communities where devotees could be self-sufficient and work according to their nature so that they didn't have to labor so hard in the material world. Because you guys probably know, like, rent is high, things are hard. You can dovetail those things and work for Krishna, but that's what Srila Prabhupada ultimately wanted. He wanted us to work with each other. So, and there are devotees now that use this system, this Daiva Varnashram system, to help devotees find their nature and work according to their qualities, so that when they're practicing Krishna consciousness, it can be done in a way that's fulfilling to them. So you don't have to force somebody who's, maybe mercantile man to be a monk or to distribute books if that's not their nature. So that's how we use it today. So this is not the Varnashram system he's referencing. So then, he says that system is broken. So back to what the sages say. They said, therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instructions their heart may be fully satisfied. And the essence is what?
Bhagavatam.
Yes, the spotless Purana. And the goal, actually, it's very interesting. I was reading that Srila Vyasadeva, so the 18 Mahapuranas, the six that are in the mode of goodness, the Bhagavatam is included in that. But when he had originally written the Bhagavatam, it was done in a way where he was mixing politics and like all these material things in with it. And he was dissatisfied. And so when his spiritual master, Narada Muni, told him, you have to write strictly about Krishna, and he entered into samadhi, he saw the Bhagavatam just without anything except for details about Krishna, and so he actually edited it. And that's very interesting. But anyways, the essence is to abandon all dharmas. Krishna asks us to do that. He says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. And so the Bhagavatam gives us an opportunity to do that, because it's real life stories of people doing that over and over and over again, from Gajendra in a heavenly planet to Prahlad Maharaj literally being tortured. There's just so many varieties of living beings and devotees that are doing the same thing. They're abandoning all varieties of religion, all duties, and just surrendering to Krishna, and they're getting the highest benefit. So basically, in conclusion, I don't know if I can go till 9:10, but in Kali Yuga, we don't have the time or the purity to do all those things. And so we get the Yuga Dharma and we get bhakti directly, which is why so many demigods are lining up to take a birth on the Earth planet at this time, because it's just it's blessings on top of blessings. And I love bhakti personally because it's fair to all living entities, even to the insignificant ant. And it doesn't depend on your social standing, your birth, what you've done, your wealth. It depends on your willingness to hear submissively about Krishna and do your best to try and serve him in your own special way with your own particular set of gifts or skills you were given in this life. Um, and so the sages are now going on the journey to get to hear for the first time the Bhagavatam and bypass all those rules and get Krishna. And by doing so, their hearts would be fully satisfied. So I don't really know if I have much more to say. This is my first Bhagavatam class in literally like 6 years. So I did my best to run it, but I don't know if I can go that much longer.
I have some discussion. Um, Prabhu, I was just thinking like you just mentioned now at the end, like this point of the demigods are lining up to take birth, here, and because bhakti is being practiced here and so on. A lot of what I have experienced in my devotional life has been very like empirically proven. Like I prayed for something and then something happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, that was really powerful. Like I prayed for that and that happened. Or, we experienced some emotion that's like, very deep or beautiful emotion, something like that. But with all this like like I remember one time, someone was sort of, I think, trying to give me some ashram training. This was years ago. They're kind of preaching at me like, like you need to like wear a gamcha in the shower because the demigods are watching you. Like anyway, I don't that's just an example of basically I hear a lot of talk of demigods. I have like a visceral empirical experience of Lord Krishna, right? But I mean, yeah, I see the sun, I feel it when it rains, but it's hard for me to automatically get behind this idea that like the demigods wish they were in my position, stuff like that.
Well, think about it like this. You know that quote? I think it's from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. I don't know about you, but any person who I've seen with great amounts of, this is honest, like for real. This is not to make people feel better about whatever position they have. It's the truth. Anyone that you see with great power or great amounts of wealth, they're always in anxiety to keep it. From little earthlings all the way up to Lord Indra. Lord Indra is respectfully envious. He's always, even if he sees a human being doing great sacrifices to get elevated, he's always thinking, is he trying to take my position? So there's so much anxiety that comes with being in a position of power like that. And so when they see our very simple lives, the fact that we're getting bhakti in Kali Yuga, 500 years after Lord Chaitanya appeared, Srila Prabhupada, they're like, I'm gonna have to die. They're like, I'm gonna have to die. All this stuff, I'm gonna have to give up. And these people, they don't have so much to lose. What's a little house? What's a little family? They get very little responsibility and so much benefit. So the more that you have, the more entangled you become. And so they see our lives and they're like, especially the life of a devotee, they're like, oh my gosh, their life is so simple, so sattvic. They get the highest benefit. Really, they can, if we want to, we can structure our lives like this in a way where we can hear about Krishna all the time. They're so surrounded by so much opulence, it would be overwhelming to our senses to even fathom how much opulence and material gratification they're surrounded by. So yeah, they are lining up. Prabhupada says that to take birth in like you guys' families. And so when they do, you take good care of them and you help them. But it's happening. It's yeah, it's like that's where a little bit of faith is required. But I do believe that with determination and with following this process, the spiritual sensitivity that the sages of Naimisharanya experience, we can experience too. And maybe someday you'll see them and feel them and you'll wish well for them just like you would an ant because you're a devotee and you see all living entities as equal. So their position is, yeah, that's great. But at the end of the day, they're still soul.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually very relatable for me. Thank you for that answer because it's making me think of like, sort of the archetype of like the wealthy person that, goes on vacation and stays in a little cabin on the lake or something is, well, this is quaint, and they get to forget about their, they actually realize, that simple living is like, yeah, something very, very good. So thank you for that. Yeah. Any other discussion before we wrap up?
Thank you so much, Hannah Prabhu. I'm Jagannath Chaitanya Das.
Hare Krishna.
Um, I had just a really weird night where I went to bed early to come to class and then I just couldn't sleep after one. So I was a little tired. But I liked the class. I really liked your explanation of the Vedas and all the bodies of work, and how they're comprised. And thank you very much for being here with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah,
Where are you?
when I first read the Bhagavad Gita, I was so confused. I was like, "What is karma kanda? What's yana?" I didn't know what any of those things meant, and so it was super cool to prepare for this class because I feel like I actually got to understand that there's the bodies of work and then there's divisions within those bodies of work, and we get to bypass all of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jai.
Okay, sorry, Vrindavan, I couldn't go longer.
That's okay. This is perfect.